Have you ever noticed how two people can make the same amount of money and end up in completely different financial realities? One person earns $80,000 a year and always feels behind. Rent is high, groceries are expensive, there's never quite enough left over. Promotions feel urgent, the next raise feels necessary just to breathe. Another person earns roughly the same, but somehow feels steady. Less stressed, more intentional. Not flashy, not bawling out, just calm. Same income, different trajectory. And most people assume the difference must be intelligence, or luck, or secret investing tricks. But in my experience, it's usually mindset. Not in a motivational quote kind of way, in a psychological operating system kind of way. Today I want to talk about the difference between what I'd call a middle-class mindset and a wealth-building mindset. Not to judge, not to shame. Most of us were raised inside the middle-class script. I was too. But once you see the difference, you can't unsee it, and it changes how you move. Most people misunderstand what rich even means. They think rich equals high income, big salary, big house, nice car, upgraded lifestyle. But income is just fuel. Wealth is stored freedom. You can make $300,000 a year and still feel fragile. One job loss away from panic. One market downturn away from stress. One unexpected expense away from debt. That's not wealth. That's high-maintenance living. The middle-class mindset is built around earning and upgrading. The wealth-building mindset is built around owning and protecting. The middle class focuses on income. The wealthy focus on assets. That sounds obvious, but the psychology behind it is where things get interesting. Let's talk about lifestyle for a second. Imagine you get a raise. Most people immediately start adjusting their life upward. Better apartment, new car lease, more dinners out, slightly nicer vacations, not extravagantly, just a little more comfortable. It feels earned, deserved, and it is. But here's the invisible shift. Your fixed expenses rise with your identity. Your life now costs more to maintain. So your freedom doesn't increase. Your pressure does. The middle-class mindset equates growth with consumption. The wealth-building mindset equates growth with ownership. One asks, what can I upgrade? The other asks, what can I acquire that pays me back? That subtle difference compounds over decades. Psychologically, the middle-class mindset is security-driven. It says, get a stable job, work hard, climb the ladder, save what's left. There's nothing wrong with that. It's responsible, it's safe, but it's reactive. You work first, you spend, you try to save afterward. The wealth-building mindset flips that. It says, own things that work even when I don't. That might mean stocks, real estate, businesses, index funds, not flashy, just assets. The focus shifts from labor income to capital income, and that shift changes how you see time. When you rely entirely on your paycheck, time feels scarce. Every hour matters. Your income is directly tied to your energy. When you start owning assets, time starts to decouple from money, slowly, imperfectly, but meaningfully. There's also a difference in how risk is perceived. Middle-class thinking often sees risk as something to avoid. Don't lose money, don't mess up, don't take big chances. That makes sense if you're living close to your income ceiling. If losing stability would hurt deeply, risk feels threatening. Wealth builders think differently about risk, not recklessly, but strategically. They ask, what's the risk of not investing? What's the risk of staying stagnant? What's the long-term cost of playing too safe? That question alone changes behavior. For example, compound interest isn't just math, it's psychology. If you invest $500 a month consistently over 30 years at a reasonable return, the numbers grow far beyond your contributions. Not because you're brilliant, because time does heavy lifting. But that only works if you're willing to delay gratification now. The middle-class mindset values visible success. You can see a car, you can see a house, you can see clothes. You can't see an index fund. Wealth building often looks boring from the outside. Driving a paid-off car while quietly investing thousands per year. Living in a reasonable home while your portfolio grows in the background. saying no to certain lifestyle upgrades so your future self can breathe. It doesn't photograph well, but it compounds beautifully. Let's talk about debt. Middle-class culture normalizes debt as a tool for lifestyle acceleration. Car loans, furniture financing, credit card balances that linger, bigger mortgages because the bank approved it. Again, not extreme, just normalized. The wealthy tend to view debt differently. They differentiate between consumption debt and productive debt. Borrowing to buy something that loses value quickly, that's pressure. Borrowing to acquire an asset that produces income, that can be leverage. The key isn't never use debt. It's understanding what the debt is doing for you. Is it buying status or buying cash flow? That question alone can change decades of financial trajectory. There's also something deeper happening. Identity. Middle-class mindset often ties self-worth to job title and income. What do you do becomes shorthand for how valuable are you. So raises feel like validation, and job loss feels like identity collapse. Wealth-building mindset separates identity from income. You're not your salary, you're not your employer, you're not your LinkedIn headline. Money becomes a tool, not a mirror. That psychological separation reduces fear-based decisions. You're less likely to overextend to impress, less likely to chase promotions that destroy your health, less likely to stay trapped because the lifestyle is too expensive to walk away from. Here's the turning point most people miss. Wealth isn't built by making more money. It's built by keeping and allocating money differently. That sounds simple. It's not easy, because culturally, we're conditioned to upgrade as we grow. New city, better neighborhood, nicer everything. And again, there's nothing wrong with comfort. The point isn't to live small forever. The point is to create a gap. The gap between what you earn and what you require to live. That gap is power. If you earn $100,000 and live on $95,000, you feel fragile. If you earn $100,000 and live on $60,000 while investing the difference, you feel optionality. Optionality changes everything. You negotiate differently at work. You sleep differently. You think long-term. Another key difference is delayed ego gratification. The middle-class mindset often says, "I've worked hard. I deserve to look successful now." The wealth-building mindset says, "I've worked hard. I deserve peace later." That might mean driving something modest while your net worth grows quietly. It might mean investing instead of upgrading your apartment immediately. It might mean building an emergency fund that no one sees but you. That emergency fund isn't just money, it's psychological stability. 3 to 6 months of expenses saved doesn't just protect you financially, it reduces cortisol, it lowers anxiety, it gives you negotiation power. That's invisible wealth. Let's talk about conversations. Middle-class conversations often revolve around income increases. How do I get a raise? How do I switch careers for more pay? Important questions, absolutely. Wealth-building conversations often revolve around allocation. How much of my income is buying assets? What return am I getting on my capital? How do I make my money more productive than I am? One focuses on effort, the other focuses on efficiency. Now, I want to be clear. This isn't about criticizing the middle class. Most of us were raised in systems that reward visible consumption and steady employment. School teaches us how to get jobs, not how to build assets. Advertising teaches us how to spend, not how to invest. Social media teaches us to display, not to accumulate quietly. So if you've been operating with a middle-class script, that's not failure, that's conditioning. The powerful part is realizing you can rewrite the script. So what does that look like in real life? It doesn't mean extreme frugality. It doesn't mean never enjoying your money. It means pausing before upgrades. When your income rises, let your investments rise first. When you want something expensive, ask whether it increases your long-term freedom or just your short-term image. When you think about risk, zoom out beyond this year. Small, consistent investing beats sporadic, emotional moves. Automating savings removes willpower from the equation. Building a buffer before chasing higher returns reduces stress dramatically. These aren't dramatic changes, they're subtle shifts in direction, and direction matters more than intensity. There's also a patience element. Middle-class mindset often expects visible results quickly. New job, new car, new house. Wealth building is slow. Years of steady investing. Years of saying no sometimes. Years of letting compound growth do what it does quietly. It can feel boring, but boring is underrated. Boring is stable. Boring builds resilience. Here's something I've noticed. The wealthiest people I've met rarely feel frantic. They're not chasing every opportunity. They're not constantly upgrading. They're not reacting emotionally to every market headline. They think in decades. Middle-class mindset thinks in months and years. Wealth-building mindset thinks in decades. That time horizon alone filters out a lot of noise. When you think in decades, short-term volatility feels smaller. When you think in months, everything feels urgent. Urgency fuels poor decisions. Patience fuels compounding. At the end of the day, the real difference isn't intelligence, it's orientation. Are you oriented around appearing successful or becoming free? Are you upgrading your lifestyle faster than your assets? Are you tying your identity to your income? Or are you building systems that slowly detach money from your daily energy? These questions aren't meant to create guilt. They're meant to create awareness. Because awareness reduces anxiety. When you understand why you feel financial pressure, you stop blaming yourself. If you take one thing from this, let it be this. Wealth is not about how much you earn, it's about how much of your life is optional. Optionality to change jobs, optionality to take a break, optionality to say no, optionality to sleep peacefully. That optionality is built quietly, through gaps, through assets, through patience. You don't need to become extreme. You don't need to become obsessed. You just need to shift slightly. Let your lifestyle grow slower than your income. Let your investments grow faster than your ego. Let time work with you instead of against you. And remember, this isn't a race. You don't need to look rich next year. You need to feel free 20 years from now. Progress beats perfection. Quiet consistency beats flashy upgrades. And the real flex is peace of mind. If you liked the video, then like it and subscribe so you don't miss the next ones.